has happened. A truck of peace struck right in the center of Stockholm, in broad daylight, on the pedestrian shopping street Drottninggatan. My fellow countrymen and women, brutally torn into pieces by an evil terrorist in a truck. 4 people have been killed and 15 injured, several of them critically. Tolerant liberal Sweden, who have been extremely welcoming of refugees, been neutral on wars, and we think it would be the last country on earth to be attacked by terrorism, but no. The truck in Stockholm was hijacked by the terrorist. The driver of the truck tried to intervene, but he was ran over. Luckily, he wasn't seriously injured. The terrorist drove the truck into a pedestrian shopping street full of people, tearing people into pieces as it went thundering along, mowing down people, plowing down people, before it came to a halt, slamming into a department store, and then bursting into flames. Now this gets personal. I have been myself at this department store so many times. I remember as a kid all the happy moments. I used to wander around in there, looking at clothes, toys, having many good times at the in-store restaurant, eating delicious carrot cake, walking with my mum on Drottninggatan as we shared candy that we just bought from one of the shops. Yesterday, people were brutally torn into pieces by an evil terrorist. Murdered! Right there. Right there. I remember when me and my mum walked on the exact spot where the truck came to a halt. I've been there so many times, walking there as we were walking to my favorite Chinese restaurant just 50 meters away. This is my home. This is my country. And people were just brutally torn into pieces by a terrorist. This is personal. Reports said that the attacker deliberately tried to hit children as he sped along. Deliberately tried to hit children. One Swedish broadcaster reported that the infant buggies were, quote, sent flying through the air, unquote, as the vehicle zigzagged and sped along the shopping district. Glenn Floran, an Australian tourist, told Reuters, quote, "It hit people, it was terrible. It hit a pram with a kid in it, demolished it," unquote. Another witness says that he could hear how the terrorist was shifting up the gears as he was speeding along. Full speed. The truck was going side to side, trying to mow down all people, with the witness saying, quote, "He plowed down all people," unquote. David Lundberg, whose office overlooks Drottninggatan, says, quote, "It was so loud I said to my colleague it must have been a bomb. It was an intense bang. We heard screaming, flocked out the window and saw a man covered in blood lying on his stomach, and a boy and a child with people running towards. Another body on the ground was just split in two," unquote. Christopher Ung was in a department store when the truck plowed down shoppers. He says, quote, "I was on my way to the exit and just saw the wall coming towards us like an avalanche," unquote. Imagine that. I have walked in and out that door myself so many times. Horrible images from the attack showing a 11-year-old girl that was killed has been spread on social media. The photos show her with her legs torn off, lying meters apart and her torso cut in half. She was just walking home from school. A famous lion-shaped roadblock placed on the pedestrian street likely saved lives. It seems like it caused the truck to swerve and crash into the department store instead of continuing down the street. I sat on and played on this roadblock when I was a child. It seems like the young girl that was killed was near the roadblock when she was hit. It is sad beyond belief. Are liberals happy now? A 39-year-old man from Uzbekistan has been arrested by Swedish police for the terrorist attack. He was arrested in Märsta after members of the public who had seen his photo on social media saw him acting suspiciously and contacted the police. The terrorist was an asylum seeker in Sweden but he had gotten his asylum application denied in June 2016. The police went to his address to arrest him for deportation, but he wasn't there, so they never arrested him. The man appears to be an ISIS supporter who has shown support for several terrorist organizations. He was known to Swedish security services in 2016, but he wasn't considered a threat. People who know the terrorist have described him as well integrated in Swedish society, working as a builder. He also has children and a wife, although they live in another country. Even though he was a Muslim, he went to parties and drank alcohol. An example of a well-integrated migrant according to Swedish liberals. He wasn't part of the gangs of youths that are roaming around in no-go zones. No, this was a well-integrated person with a job, wife and children. Now imagine that there are probably hundreds of thousands of migrants that are not integrated very well in Sweden. Police sources said that the homemade bomb was found in the truck after the incident, but it seems to have failed to detonate properly. It does however appear that the man had some burn injuries, which could indicate a failed suicide bombing. Sweden's reaction to the incident seems to have been a reaction of panic and terror. Stockholm city was essentially placed on lockdown. All public transport and traffic was shut down. Several big shopping malls were evacuated and closed. People stayed in their offices and houses. Police was driving around shouting a terror attack had happened. People were fleeing Stockholm by foot. Reports say that the streets of Stockholm were completely empty. The army was deployed on the streets. Border controls both in and out of Sweden were set in force. In all the aftermath, even Prime Minister Stefan Löfven was just 300 meters away from the bomb that the terrorists had left in the truck. It seemed to be absolute chaos. Sweden was not prepared for this attack. The liberals and left have been horrified of the potential increase in support for the quote-unquote racist nationalist Swedish Democrats. One tweet says, quote, "One of the scariest things with the attack is that the SD, which is the Swedish Democrats, probably are going to increase a lot after this," unquote. Gustav Fridolin from the Green Party, who is education minister in Sweden, said that Sweden, quote, "meets attacks with love for foreigners," unquote. Other responses from the left has been to organize a anti-racism march. The people behind the event said that after an attack like this, there is a risk that it causes racism amongst people. Okay, so according to these people, the problem after a terror attack is that racism could increase. That's their main issue, not tackling terrorism. But many responses from Swedes have been that of anger. For example, Micke K writes, quote, "It is a point of no return. That is what it is. Just to live with it or move from Sweden. The thought is there," unquote. The feelings are flowing still, from shock to fear, between sadness, frustration and anger. Right now, hate towards politicians," unquote. Camilla writes, quote, "I live in Karlstad. This became personal for me too. It is our country. It is personal, Micke," unquote. So what has the response been from no-go zones? Well, in no-go zone Tensta, which is only about 20 minutes from Märsta where the terrorist was arrested, police were attacked with rocks during the ongoing operation after the terror attack. There have been other images from Swedish TV of migrants in the background making hand signs and smiling after the attack. However, other Swedish people have come together to shower the police with flowers for their heroic work. The police really did a good job. They ran straight towards the danger when everyone else were running away. This attack has left Sweden stunned, shocked, angry. This is probably somewhat of a wake-up call for Sweden. The mayor of London has said that terrorist attacks are part of everyday life in cities now. Absolutely no! We cannot let this become the new normal. No! Innocent people's lives were brutally taken away in the horrible attack on my home country. The people in Sweden have been brainwashed into voting for politicians that don't have Swedish citizens' interests at heart. I blame the politicians, and Swedish people need to wake up and vote for change. Europe and Sweden is being run over by males of fighting age from other countries. There are now scores of what cannot be considered anything else than a foreign army in our countries. The attacks in Europe over the last year have shown that something is not right. But our politicians keep sending them right in. Open border globalist politicians are importing what is essentially a foreign army into our countries. because they want nothing other than the destruction of independent, peaceful nation states. It is time to say no. We will not accept this anymore. This is personal. These are our streets, our people, our countries, and we will not stand for our countries being destroyed. The Swedish people is a minority on the earth. There is only a few million of us. Depending on how many migrants are living in Sweden, I estimate there is maybe around 7 to 8.5 million ethnic Swedes. Where is the left? We are a small minority on earth. Surely the left should be all over trying to protect ethnic Swedes. But no. Sweden is in a dire state. Serious crime, murders, arsons, rapes are through the roof. Several hanging attacks every month are happening in Sweden. And now people torn to pieces in the middle of the street. Swedes are a minority. Don't let Sweden go extinct.